In fact, what we do in plant design, in my point of view, and what I talk in my social media is we have a problem and we start from the problem. The chemical process engineer needs to identify how to solve that problem. And once we identify that, we will develop a series of deliverables and documents in order that the other disciplines are able to do their job. And in the end, we have increase in production, we have a new plant, we have in compliance with the regulations and something like that.
Welcome to the Chemical Engineering Guys podcast, a show in which we share stories and tips from chemical and process engineers. We talk about student and professional life, as well as important aspects of products, processes, industries, and companies. But more importantly, what are the paths that these unique individuals are taking in this ever-changing world? Let's get started. What's up, guys? Welcome once again to the show Chemical Engineering Guys podcast. This time, I have one of my dearest friends, online friends, Jeferson Costa, which is a Brazilian engineer, process engineer. Probably you have been watching some of his content already online. The owner of the InProcess program, which is a very interesting program. Jeferson will tell us about it. So Jeferson, let us know more about you. What's your background and what are you doing right now?
Hi, Emmanuel. Hi, guys. Thanks a lot for the invitation. And I'm very happy to be here with you. And we are again together. First, you accepted my invitation to my InProcess interview series. And now I'm here with you in your podcast. And it is very nice. So, guys, my name is Jeferson Costa. I'm a chemical process engineer with expertise in plant design. I have around more than 10 years of experience in plant design. And I'm not only work with plant design, but I have a lot of content in the internet. So you can follow them in my LinkedIn. I have a Telegram channel InProcess, Facebook fan page, Instagram, and also the YouTube channel.
That's true, guys. I would say Jeferson Costa might have one of the best contents for chemical process engineers in the internet. So definitely check him out if you haven't checked. And if you already know him, maybe even try to contact him and let him know what do you want to have as a content. So maybe you want more courses, you want some interviews, you want to focus in some industries. Jeferson will be kind enough to check out what the audience wants. So Jeferson, let's go back in time, as I usually like to carry out this episode in chronology. So the very first thing I want to talk about is why did you decide to become a chemical engineer?
I decided to be in fact, I didn't decide to be a chemical process engineer. At the time, I was studying to be agricultural technician. But my father is from the industrial project area, and he suggests me to do an exam to study chemical engineering in a public institute in Brazil. And in Brazil, the public institutes are has more value than the commercial ones. So I passed the exam, and the only thing that I decided at that time was, once I started the chemical engineering course, I only left the university when I finished that. And it doesn't matter if I like it or if I don't like it, I will finish. And after that, I will decide what I will do.
Okay, that's true. I see that you studied in the University of Sao Paulo back there in Brazil. How is the university? What's the main focus? Is it for engineers to go in the industry, or is it for research? Or what's the main idea?
Yeah, the University of São Paulo has a lot of campus, and in São Paulo, of course. And the campus that I get lessons that I studied, it was focused on industry. There was a project there developed about the pro alcohol. So they used sugar canes to develop the fuel for cars and something like that. So there was a distillation unit in the university, in the time of the militaries, because it started as a private institution from the militaries, and after that the government took it to the public. So it was addressed to industry, but although the university is addressed to the industry, in fact, I didn't get too in touch with the industry in the time that I was in the college, because I think it's normal that the teachers are more interested in doing lessons for us or developing their researches than sharing with us practical knowledge, because some of them in Brazil is very common that or you decide to be a teacher or you decide to go to the industry. And when you decide to be a teacher, you need to do a lot of masters and doctorate. And when you do that, you don't have time to work in the industry. So once I had this kind of teachers, I get more theoretical stuffs than practical. In fact, I only learned plan design in the job. I didn't learn plan design in my graduation.
Okay, so was it because you didn't have courses dedicated for plant design, or was it because it was maybe lacking the course?
I think there is two main reasons. The first one is that we are not prepared to. We don't understand what the industry needs, so we don't know if when my teacher talks about pipe instrumentation diagram, I didn't know how important it would be to my career. So I didn't take attention to that. In the other hand, I didn't remember that they have emphasized the importance. So I think it was the both things that contribute to not learning plan design in the college. And when I say that I didn't learn plan design, I mean that I didn't learn how to use the chemical engineering to do my job. Of course, that I learned the fluid dynamics, I learned heat transfer, but it is different when you get the examples from the book and get it in real life, because although you know how to do the calculations, you have a lot of documents that you need to develop, and that a lot of interface that you need to handle, and those are things that you don't learn at the university.
That's true, Jefferson. That's very important to remark that I don't know why chemical engineers always lack this part of actual, let's say, hands on in plant design. We know a lot of unit operations, maybe. We work in the lab, maybe with some, I don't know, a filter or a reactor or heat exchanger. But once you get to the industry, it's way different what you study, and as you stated on the books, and what do you see in the industry. And it's very hard because they also have a lot of, let's say, innovative unit operations, which I think are not present on the, let's say, old books. We know the basics, of course. Our background is solid, but it's not the same to study all equipment versus the actual things that you are using. Jefferson, what do you think about that? Do you think the universities will eventually try to get along with the industry needs, or do you think that chemical engineering is going to be taught as it is taught since, I don't know, 1950?
My point of view, once I finished my chemical engineering course, is that the target of the university is to open your mind to let you know how to find the answers. And I'm not saying that it is the fault of the university. I didn't know how to do plan design, because in fact there are lots of fields to the chemical process engineering work. So maybe if I would be blaming about plan design, eventually someone wants to work with sales, and it would be the same. The university is not able to reach all fields of work of the chemical process engineer, but it can give you guidance on how you find the answers. And once you understand that, you will stop blaming the university for not teaching you how you should do the work, but push yourself to go forward. What I mean, you need to look for YouTube videos, you need to look for special training to let you specialize it or prepared to the field that you want to work on. So that is my point of view about university. And of course, if you want to work with research and development, I think it's easier to you develop this kind of vision in the university because many teachers has researchers inside the university, so you get closer to the working process of research and development. And it is not possible to do talking about plan design because there is no plan design in the university. So that's my point of view.
Yeah, I also think even though we study a lot of problems from the book, textbook problems, it really helps you to open your mind and try to solve different approaches because when you go and solve material balances, you use another approach than when you were solving maybe heat transfer problems. And when you go to transport phenomena, it's another approach. So even though they are engineering approaches, you are using different ways into actually attacking the problems. So that's what I think we have an advantage, right? So we know a lot of ways in which we can solve things and we can try to use a methodology in order to solve problems. Okay, Jefferson. So that's an interesting point to consider. Many students, I think, have this problem. They are recently graduate and they have no idea. They feel that maybe they are not good enough for the industry. So my question will be then, what, how did you felt once you were graduated? Because I see that you went directly to the industry as a process engineer. So were you open for the adventure? Were you scared maybe, or were you willing to take this challenge? What was your attitude?
It was dark times because I finished my graduation. I did in Brazil to you finish your college or university, you need to have a minimum time as trainee in the industry or in something related to chemical process engineering, not exactly in the industry. So at that time, I was an attendant working for the municipal government, and the municipal government had water treatment station. So part time, I did my trainee in the water treatment station, and once I get the enough hours to finish my trainee, I left. So I was not in touch or familiar with the commercial industry, private industry after before I finished my graduation, and I spent 1 year to get my first job because I left the home that I worked on that time. I was living in Vale do Paraíba, in São Paulo, and I went to Rio de Janeiro because my father had some contacts in the project offices. So I went to Rio de Janeiro without any job promise. I start looking for job, and every day I was looking for job. In that time there was not LinkedIn, or internet was not so diffused as it is right now. And I think that the most important point was that I never give up. So I still keep searching, and eventually I get the opportunity. I was in the right place at the right time. The design office that asked me for an interview, they were needing a process engineer to show to the customer because they were receive a customer representative. They didn't have a process engineer to show. My boss at that time asked me something like this: please come to the office tomorrow and I will present you as our chemical process engineer. And if you don't want this job, don't worry, you don't need to return, please. But tomorrow, be here because I need a process engineer to show to the customer representative. So that was very impactful, and I will not forget the words of Mr. Falcão in that time. So it was the way that I get my first job.
So this is the PCE engineering or engineering PCE job
Yeah.
you're talking about?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so I read here that you work as a process engineer for almost 1 year and 4 months, specifically for propylene plant. So let us know more on that job. What was it to be a new process engineer, and especially as your boss told you, you were the only process engineer. So what did you do, and how did you survive, Jefferson?
Okay, Manuel. This design office was doing EPC for revamping the polypropylene plant for Braskem, and that time was not Braskem the name, but after some years, the Braskem bought the company. So I will talk about Braskem. Okay, it was supposed to have a junior engineer that should be me, and they would hire another engineer to be my senior engineer. But in the end, I was the only engineer in the company. It was a joint venture between OAS, a construction company, and PCE. In PCE, specialty, in fact, was hydroelectric facilities. So I was the only chemical process engineer that was ever hired in the company. And my luck was that because of that, we was moved to inside Braskem to develop the project. So I was doing the detailing design of the polypropylene plant, and I needed to get the basic engineering design and review the data sheets for control valves. I needed to review the line lists, compare the what was in the pipe instrumentation diagram, if all the instruments in the pipe instrumentation diagram, if we had the process data sheet for each instrument, if all lines drawn in the pipe instrumentation diagram was in the line list and something like that. So in the beginning of the career as a chemical process engineer, most often we work as verifiers. We need to verify if what was already done by previous projects or by senior people is complete, or if it's missing something. We are not approvers. We need to verify if something was missed. Okay, so this is was what my main tasks or my main roles in this job. So I spent around 1 year and a half doing that. But once the project finished and we did the revamp of the plant, I was invited by the project manager of the design office of Braskem to join the team. So I was a third party in Braskem working with plant design, but this time for a small project, small improving projects. So the operations identified that something could be done to increase the plant capacity. For instance, increase the steam flow, and I needed to evaluate the pipeline, do the pipe sizing, and something like that. And it was in that time that I learned how to use the AutoCAD, and it is a software from Autodesk that most companies uses to do pipe instrumentation diagram. So I think that it is a good side skill to be learned by those ones that wants to work with plan design. So in general, it was it, my friend. I started as the junior engineer, but I did the job of all engineers of my company, and we finished the project, and I was invited to Braskem, by Braskem, to help them with the small projects inside the company.
That's nice, Jefferson, to hear that you started in a, let's say, smaller company, and then because you show that you were able to do the job, you were invited to this great company, which is Braskem. So can you let us know more on the main difference of working with a small company or maybe medium-sized company versus the Braskem monster? Because I also know Braskem has some, like, I don't know if it's completely private, but I think the government has some, let's say, talk in the table. How is it to work with Braskem? Did you like it, or was it very hard to work with government institutions?
Although the government maybe have some stocks, it is private. We can consider that is a private company. But what we need, and people must understand when we are in the design department in a production industry, is that the design department is not the priority. They need to produce polypropylene, they need to produce polyethylene, so all the resources are addressed to production. And it's very common that there is some kind of rivalry between design and operations, because in some cases they think that we are letting their job more difficult, but we want to is get the things easier and cleaner to have a better performance. So what I can say to you, although the Braskem is very, very big, it is big in operations and not in the design office, because it's not the expertise of Braskem at the time that I worked there. I don't know how it is today, okay? They were not interested in doing design. They were interested in doing operations, producing more and more. And so the design department was very small. We had, I think it was only 5 persons. It had a pipe designer that was our focal point, like a manager. I had a CAD designer, a guy to work with the administrative issues, and it was me to do the process job, but I get in touch with the suppliers, like the compressor suppliers, and I did the AutoCAD's update also related to pipe instrumentation diagram. If we were to install a valve in the field, I went there and I helped to do the commissioning, the startup. So if I needed to get some weight to help the installation of the valve, I would do that. So although the company size, the project design was very small, and that was very, very good, because when we start your career in a small company, you are challenged to do a lot of things that in big companies it is specialized skills. So when I left the Braskem, when I went to White Martins, PraxAir, and now Linde, my environment changed, and I was more specialized in chemical process engineering, and I left the project manager skills to be behind, because there were people specialized to do that. So it was very nice to start my career in Braskem, and I did great friends there, and I'm not regret anything about it. And it is very, very, very good when you start in a small company, because you learn a lot of skills.
That's true. I also think the same. Thanks for letting me know that Braskem is not publicly owned. I thought it was publicly owned by the government, but it says that it's a private company. And I think it's way better to do so, because then you have less, let's say, politics in the company involved. I see now that you were working in PraxAir, which is a very important chemical company. For our friends out there, PraxAir is mostly in charge of gases, but I know there are also other type of products. So you were there as a senior process engineer, which I think is one of the ideal positions most of our friends want to achieve. Can you let us know more on what is the main role you were doing, and what was your day-to-day work in Praxair, Jefferson?
Yes, for sure. And although I start my career in Braskem, in fact, my school, I can say that my professional school was PraxAir, because it was there that I get involved with big projects from the start to the end. And although many people think that project design is related only to EPC companies, that's not true. There are many other phases of the project to consider in order to get from the beginning to the end. And what I did there was to do calculations related to process engineering. So I started using the Unison Design, that is a process simulation software similar to Aspen HYSYS. and I was involved with industrial as cryogenic air separation. I learned how to do the sizing of plants or units related to nitrogen, oxygen, and argon separation. I get involved also with hydrogen production using steam methane reformer, and I get involved also with CO2 liquefaction in order to have the CO2 for the beverage grade. In the last year, I was involved with acetylene production, but it was very fast. I'm not so skilled on that. But in fact, is that I was able to work at the preliminary stages of a project and doing supporting business with decision related to the what is the best arrangement to attempt our customer. For instance, if Braskem will install a new unit, and usually they need utilities, and some of the utilities that they need nitrogen, so they do a bid in the market, a business inquired, something like that. So I did preliminary piping instrumentation diagram, preliminary process flow diagram, and preliminary heating material balance in order to help the business to do the cost of the proposal. And once we won the proposal, we start doing the project. And doing the project, we did the data sheet for instrumentation, for equipment, for control valves, PSVs, and something like that, and review the pipe instrumentation diagram, pipe process flow diagram, and something like that. And with those information, other disciplines were able to do their job. Like the electrical guy was able to size the cables for the electricity needed to the pump motor. And the mechanical engineer was able to do the specification to buy a compressor or something like that. And once we finish the design, it's time to the procurement team buy all the stuffs needed to be delivered to the field in order that the construction team are able to erect the plant. And once the erection is finished, we need to go to the field to do the commissioning in startup. So when a person is in a EPC, most often they are restricted only to the office jobs or office activities. And that was not my case because I started in the office, but once the plant was erected, I went to the field and I did the commissioning, I did the startup. So in some cases, I verified that some decisions done in the design was not the best decision. But as I was in the field verifying that, seeing with my own eyes what get wrong, I was able to learn much more and get that knowledge and return it to future designs and know that I cannot use that kind of valve because if I do that and I drain the cryogenic column, the valve will leak. So I need to change that kind of valve and something like that. So that was the kind of thing that I learned in PraxAir that I don't believe that I would learn if I worked in a big design company because I was restricted only to the office. And because of all this learning, today I'm still able to do the office job and also the field job that I'm doing today.
Okay, that's great to hear, Jefferson. Actually, I have a personal doubt, Jefferson. When did you learn to use HYSYS and all the other simulation tools? Was it in Braskem or was it in PraxAir?
In Braskem, we had the Aspen HYSYS, and in fact, it was not Aspen yet. I think it was only HYSYS design because it was the green screen yet
Yes.
that time. But I didn't know. In that time, I have read about process simulation software, but I have never get in touch with them during my college. So I get in touch with them only during the job. So I learned in the job. My English was not so good that time, and there was something like, for instance, I needed to add the dirty to a pump, and I didn't know that the dirty was equivalent to power and something like that. So it was hard to learn alone. And as I didn't needed to use too much, I didn't get skilled in process simulation Braskem. It was only in PraxAir because I needed to do the process simulation of the whole plant from the air intake to the liquid at the storage tank that I learned how to use the process simulation. To my lucky, it was Unison design that was very, very similar to Aspen HYSYS. So I was already familiar and getting all the projects, and with support with some senior engineers, I was able to learn in the job about process simulation.
And did you have a mentor, or did you have proper training, or did you just learn by yourself?
I can say that I learned by myself. What I had in that time was some notes. Here we call this apostila, but it's something like a short book with annotation. I did have that from previous training from other people in the company. And for me, it's very easy to learn something when I have a reference. I am able to see how one thing works and replicate that to me. So as we had many previous projects, I opened them and I verified, it is this way that was set the compressor. It was this way that the pump was set. And although I didn't have an official mentor, we had a job leader, and eventually I addressed some questions to him, but it was not too often. I learned more by observation than by asking people.
I did had some help, but I also learned by heart. There was not so many content to study from, so the only way was by clicking and trying and refreshing and trying to talk with colleagues that use the software. So that's very important to consider. In real life, you will typically need to know. It's fun to say this, but learn to learn. So when you're a good engineer, you're always open to learn new tools, even though it will be, of course, out of your comfort zone. But if you are not open for learning new tools, it's really going to be working against you. That's one thing I always say. Chemical engineers are always open for new tools. Jefferson, I know now that you are by yourself or in your consulting company. Let us know more on that, because I know there's a lot of chemical engineers that want to open shop, make their own business, but it's kind of hard to go because typically we think about heavy investments, or that we need to have a very innovative product, or that we need to produce lots of product or have the right connections. So how did you manage to go by yourself? How did you went from being an employee to be your own boss?
It was not a decision of mine because the crisis that we had here in Brazil, and it seems that we left it. My contract was finished in the end of 2017. It was in December, and I get without job. But it is a practice here in Brazil to hire senior engineers as consultant. So what I did was that we call here open CNPJ. That is like we have the ID for personal, we have an ID to a company. So I opened something like that. And my ex-boss from PraxAir invited me to go to China because the process team there was needing help with separation design. So he indicated me, and because of that, I get a contract with PraxAir China, and I spent 3 months there doing process design in Shanghai. and that was a very good time there. And it was there that I decided to do all my contents in English, because 1 year before I was starting to sharing my experience in the internet, but in Portuguese, and that was the time that we get in touch. I don't know if you remember. I invited
Of
you.
course, of course. I remember the video I sent you. I think you still have it on your channel, right?
Yes, yes, it's there to everyone who wants to watch that.
Talking about that, why did you decide to do this? Did you wanted to share your knowledge for helping others, or for maybe marketing purposes so they know that you're a process engineer, or was it a task? Why did you do that jornada laboral?
It was a combination of a lot of factors, but in my last year in PraxAir, I was not satisfied with my career. I'm not know if because my age, I was going to the 40s, but I was 5 years without having an increase in salary. So I was not satisfied, although I had good feedbacks from my work. Yeah, although I was at the five top percentage of people with good results, I didn't had a salary increase. So I was starting thinking about my career and what I could do to change that. So it was when I get in touch with personal development, and there in Brazil there is some names famous related to this field. But I get in touch also with the Tony Robbins material, and I decided that after I my contract was finished, I decided that I would be international known by my expertise. That was a decision that I made. I would be international recognized at my expertise, and I would have 1,000 students at my supervision. That was the two decisions that I did. And the Jornada Industrial was not it was not my idea yet, that I decided later my goals. It was forming what some months later I would decide to do. So my first objective with the Jornada Industrial was to join seniors engineers to share their knowledge. It was not clear to me at that time that I would be very known in the internet, because that in fact was not my purpose. But once I went to China, that get stronger in me, and I decided that from that point I would like never to get to ask for a job. My objective was I will not ask for a job anymore. I will get recognized at my expertise, and I will have people asking me to work for them and not the opposite. So that was why I start sharing my experience in the internet. And after some time, I decided also that I could teach young people, and by ask for a fee for that, because I spend a lot of time with my students and I do Zoom meetings, something like that. So it was like a retirement plan. The training program that I have is like a retirement plan. I don't want to stop working as a chemical engineer working with plant design, because it is something that I really love, and that's something that I feel that gives me the right to teach other people. So it's something like that, Emmanuel. I'm not so sure if I get lost in my thoughts. If I did, please get me in the wrong way, in the right way, please.
Oh, thank you for sharing all this. Actually, respect you a lot for that. It's something that not all people will be clear the reality of the jobs, especially in Mexico, Brazil. I don't know other countries. I don't want to say them, but it's sad that process engineers, which are very important for the industry, they sometimes don't get valued. And as you stated, I think it's also because it's very hard for maybe a process engineer that is already in his comfort zone. He's earning a relatively good amount of money. He will stay there. It's not common. It might be common to change for a job, for another process engineering job, but the reality is that many will remain in the company they're working, and the companies are not so, let's say, they don't value that much their process engineers. And as you stated, 5 years without a raise, and you're giving the results, you're working hard. In my opinion, you did the best decision, which is always work for yourself, sell your services, go full out. As you stated, you started with talking Portuguese, and you saw, I also started talking in Spanish. All my content, chemical engineering content, was in Spanish. But I also think that you saw the light. I did. English is the universal language. So if you want to go all out, you gotta do it in English. And congratulations, Jefferson. Really, you are doing great, I think. And I really think that you have two main things going on: the consulting firm and also your online business. Let it be the InProcess program that you have. Let us know more on that. So, what's the InProcess? What does it include? How do you help your students? Can you be more specific? Because I'm pretty sure some engineers that might be hearing or listening to this podcast might be interested. So let us know more about InProcess.
Okay, to talk about more about InProcess Booster, that is my training program, I would do we step back to, because today is very, very clear to me, and that is what keeps pushing me to sharing a lot of content, is that my mission is to teach people that wants to work with plant design. And of course, most of them are chemical process engineers. So it is very, very clear to me that my mission is to get chemical process engineers that wants to learn how to do plant design and teach them how to do this, how to do that. Because we don't learn that in the college, in the university, and if we work in operations and we are too much time in operations, we don't learn that also, because the operations is different from design. So once that I let that clear to me, to my mind, and everything that I share is addressed to that. So my in-process interviews are addressed to that. My content in Telegram channel, I give tips, audio tips in my Telegram channel for free, and you can know what is normal cubic meter per hour. Today I talked about the difference about HYSYS and seal and stuff like that. So I think that is very important to people know that you need to have an objective, and I have my goal. So based on that, I developed the InProcess Booster, where I teach people how to use the Aspen HYSYS to do plant design, but not only how to use the tool. I get examples of my work, and that's why I'm not interested in stop working. I get example from my work, and I show I have this. I'm working in this project, and in this project I need to do this. I need to calculate a pipe size, and you will have this kind of information. You need to consider this kind of variables, and because of that, you will use the Aspen HYSYS this way. And that is my target with the Aspen HYSYS. But plant design is not only process simulation, it is related also with pipe instrumentation diagrams. So inside the Process Booster, people learn how to read and how to develop the pipe instrumentation diagram. And to complete that, or getting deeper in plant design, we need to know how to fill process datasheet for equipment, for instruments, for control valves and PSVs and stuff like that. So the training program is organized, is planned in a way that the members of my training program can do process simulation, and with that have the heating material balance, can read and develop pipe instrumentation diagram, and with the information from the heating material balance and from the pipe instrumentation diagram, they are able to fill or develop process data sheet for equipment, instrument, and etc. And not only that, to close this training program, I'm adding the safety, process safety considerations, because when we are doing design, we need to know what happens if the temperature gets too low or gets too hot, if the pressure increases, decreases, and process safety point of view, it's needed to get all this together, all these deliverables, because in fact, what we do in plan design, in my point of view, and what I talk in my social media is we have a problem and we start from the problem. The chemical process engineer needs to identify how to solve that problem. And once we identify that, we will develop a series of deliverables and documents in order that the other disciplines are able to do their job. And in the end, we have increase in production, we have a new plant, we have in compliance with the regulations and something like that. If you are not developing documents in plan design, we are not doing plan design. It is more or less what is the main goal of the training program. And it is a way that I have also to be closer to my students, because they have my WhatsApp and I have to have this closer relationship with them. Most of them are becoming friends of mine, but we need to select people that will be surround me, because the time is not money, time is life. So I don't want to spend my time with people that don't want to learn plan design, that don't want to improve themselves. So if the person is decided enough to pay a fee for me to have me as a mentor, I believe that they are ready or prepared or have the will enough to be a better professional. And it's my pleasure to help him or to help her because of that.
Okay, that's great to hear, Jefferson. I also think the same. I think we have the same idea that if people want to learn, they should come by themselves. We are not there to make them learn. They come with us is because they want to know more about our services, our products, how we can help them, how can we educate them, and all that. So I'm really on board with you. I get you totally, Jefferson. And congratulations also in process. I know that you have been doing a lot of interviews with other fellow chemical and process engineers, well, actually other type of engineers. So definitely check out the channel of Jefferson. It's in YouTube, just as his name, Jeferson Costa, the chemical process engineer. And Jefferson, what do you think if we pass quickly to the quick question and answer section?
Okay, no problem.
Perfect. So let's get to the student life section. What would you change from your student life?
I would go to more parties to have more networking, because I was a very shy person, and usually I stayed at my not in my home, but I didn't left too much to have a relationship with people.
That's true. Networking is important, Jefferson. That's also
Yes.
what happened to me. I didn't go out as much, but yeah, I recommend that go out, not for the sake of getting drunk or just having like wasted or something. Go out and try to connect with people.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so what would you remove from your bachelor syllabus? What subjects or courses do you think are not useful and will maybe change them for another course?
I did a specialization. In fact, it's hard to answer this question, because I would say that I did a specialization in reliability engineering, and that was not useful to me. But in fact, it was because I learned some concepts related to process safety, and it was very useful when I was in White Martins, because the White Martins PraxAir, because process safety was a very concern related to their process and working process and wherever. And I think that in terms of courses, I don't have anyone that I would not do again. Maybe what I would add is, I don't know. I have nothing to remove, Emmanuel.
No, it's fine. It's fine. So let's go now and check out this question. What would you study other than chemical engineering?
I have, maybe you will not believe, but I almost became a lawyer. And it was in the time that I was confused. I was not satisfied with my career. And my wife is a lawyer. So I started a college to become a lawyer. And I studied that for 2 years in parallel with my chemical engineering job. But once I decided that I had experience enough to teach people how to do plan design, I forget about how to become a lawyer. And I like it to work with how to be a lawyer because, in fact, what I saw is solving problem. And that's why I really love to be a chemical process engineer because it's a way I have to solve problems. So that's why I considered to become a lawyer, but I gave up in the meantime.
Okay, lawyer is the first time I hear something like that. That's interesting, Jefferson.
In fact, it's very, very similar to plan design because in plan design we need to follow standards and lawyers needs to follow standards also. But as we engineers has a systematic thoughts, it's easier to get the laws and think about how to have doors to open, right? So that was very, very fun to study law because of that.
Systems are everywhere, and once you're an engineer, you see how structure and order will always prevail over chaos. Okay, Jefferson, this question is an interesting one. So, can you give us quick tips for chemical engineering students? So, what do they need to do to learn, or maybe what would you do if you were them?
The first thing that I would like to say is believe in yourself. Do your best to strengthen your inner self. So it's very nice to read development books like Tony Robbins, Bobby Proctor. I really really recommend that to people that get closer to me. I don't talk too much about that. I think that is really, really important. The second thing, invest in social skills, and I call that as external skills because you need to know the basic concepts about marketing, the basic concepts about selling and buying, because what you will do in your professional life is sell ideas and you need to know how to marketing your ideas, and not only in the professional life. In fact, in all places that you are selling something. If you are discussing, if you are in a discussion, if you are trying to invite a girl or a boy to go to the cinema or to the movies, you need to use the right words at the right time to convince people. So that's very, very important to know something like that. And I recommend you Persuasion. I don't know how it is in English. I think it's Persuasion. It's from Robert Cialcini. It's a very interesting book that talks about the six bases for convincing or to persuade someone. I think that's Persuasion, the name of the book.
Make no worries, we can always add the resources and your contact information on the blog post I will be preparing for this episode, Jefferson.
Okay. And the last thing is prepare yourself technically. And what I regret for not doing was sharing my experience earlier. If I could back in the time, I would start studying and sharing my experience from the day one of my first job. From my first job, it would be okay because I would have the real life experience and I would compare that with the theory. And for instance, in that time, I could have a blog and eventually do a YouTube channel. So it is something that would be do earlier if I had the opportunity.
Share and working soft skills is also important. As you stated, when you can persuade people, you will get better jobs, better clients, better promotions, and so on. Okay, now let's pass to the professional life questions. So, what would you expect from a chemical engineer graduate if you were to hire him maybe as a consulting, junior consulting, or if you were working in a company, what would you expect from them?
Yeah, what I expect from a chemical process engineer, and I have a junior one at my supervision, and that also from my students, as before doing questions, look for the answer. And I have an example to give. I did a test. I sent most of my students don't speak Portuguese. Okay, they are not from Brazil. They are from Australia, Canada, Mexico, India, Germany, and etc. So I sent to them an email in Portuguese, a simple email in Portuguese with some instructions, and I waited with the reply. And some of them replied to me something like this: "Hi, sir, I don't speak Portuguese. Could you please send me an email in English?" And that was a test, of course, and that was not the correct answer, because when your boss gives you a task, they don't want excuses. He wants a solution. And there are many ways to solve this kind of problem. For instance, when I get greetings in Chinese, I'm not a Chinese expert, I copy that and add to Google Translate. So this is a way that you have to, if you don't know Portuguese, if you don't know Spanish, if you don't know Arabic, and you receive a message on those language, copy that and add to Google Translate. And even though you will not have the exact translation, at least you can say to people or for your boss, this way, I think that it is the correct answer. And if it's not the correct answer, please give me some instructions in order that I can get the correct answer. So my tip, what I want to see in people that surround me, is that they look for solutions and not focus on problems.
Jefferson, if you can change or trade jobs with someone, what job will that be? Let's say 1 day or 1 week, 1 month.
I would like to there. I'm too involved too many things, too many things. So I would like to have 1 day or 1 month to work only with the content related to my training program with my students, because as I'm still working as in plan design, I need to split my time, and then sometimes that is very stressful. And as you can see, last week I left the industrial plant. I went to the hotel, and I did a live session in my YouTube. So if I had the time only to do that, it would be very nice. And I hope that soon I can get this opportunity.
Okay, Jefferson. Now I have a quick question, but it's a very important question. What was the best advice you were given?
The best advice I was given. The best advice I was given was those one that I read from the Power Within from the Tony Robbins, and there is another, the Woke Up the Giant Without You. So the best advice were in these two books. And just to summarize, we are pushed by pleasure or pain. So you must identify what is the pleasures that you have and how you can avoid pain. And with that, do a plan to drive your career, your personal life, and all your stuffs that you want to read.
Okay, that's nice tip. Actually, I always wanted to check out Tony Robbins. I haven't had the time to check out his content. I know he has one book on finance, on wealth creation, so I want to check it that as well. But I think the motivational part and doing the job is also a important thing on his work. I will check it out. Thank you, Jefferson. And talking about advices, what is the worst advice you were given?
I'm not so sure, Emmanuel. I'm not so sure.
That's okay. That means that if you don't remember, it was not that bad of an advice. If you remember, you will remember it for sure.
Yes, because I prefer not to focus in bad things. I forget about them and I push me to solve and good things. So I'm not too worried about that.
Okay, this question is great. What do you think is the future of chemical engineering? Because I don't know if you check that much the content on the internet and see the young chemical engineers, maybe recent graduates or engineers studying. They are kind of sad that chemical engineering is like a dying field, even though it's not dying, but they think it's like a dying field because oil and gas is going. Most of the jobs are getting automated. So, what do you think is the future of chemical engineering? Do you think it's going to grow, maintain itself, maybe disappear, or maybe fragment in other subcategories such as biotechnology, pharma, and so on?
I would not say that the chemical engineering will finish or will end because when you have chemical engineering knowledge, there are a lot of fields that you can work on. But what I could say to your audience and people that are listening to us is that they must understand that the job market is a market. And what I mean about that is the demand and scarcity. And with time goes on, we will have more and more graduated at ready to the job market, ready and enter parentheses, okay, because they will have the diploma, but in fact they will not be read. And what the new graduates that is going to the job market must focus on is how to show themselves to the market. So that's why I suggest to have at least some concepts about marketing, about sales, and build relationship. When you go to LinkedIn, and it's the opportunity that you have to share your experience, and with that, show yourself to the job market. And eventually, if you do that consistently, people will notice you and they will consider you if they have projects or if they need assistance and something like that. And just to, for instance, not considering my training program because I have a student there, but if I would choose someone to work with me today, I would choose someone that follow my content and not only follow but shows that they are doing something useful with that. And when we have this kind of relationship, it will be easier to you to find a place in the job market. So what I would say is that focus less in the mathematics and focus more in the social skills, because although the automation of the industry, we still need people to deal with people. When you call your telephone service, you don't want to talk to a computer. It is very stressful. You want to talk to a person.
That's true.
And
That's true.
when you and in the industry, when you are doing plan design, is the same. We always need someone to deal with people. So my point of view is that think the job market as a market, and because of that you need to have a better product and you need to marketing your product before the other ones. And product most important in your life is yourself. So this is my point of view.
That's true, Jefferson. I really like the part of the job market. As you stated, chemical engineers are in a job market. Depending on the number of companies, depending on the number of jobs available, on the position, on the movement, on the projects they have, there will be certain amount of jobs for entry level, for senior level, for maybe even management level. The only thing that you can do is prepare yourself to be the best fit for the job that you're applying. Yeah, I don't think chemical engineering is a dying field. I do think maybe we need to get more specialized because the chemical engineering is so powerful as a recent graduate because it can fit in many industries. But nowadays, the industry requires way much more specific skills. But the only set of skills that you said, the soft skills, the communication skills, persuasion skills, leadership, team working, all those skills will be always useful in any kind of job. So thank you for sharing that, Jefferson. I'm also on board with that. And Jefferson, two last questions on random facts, nothing to do with chemical engineering.
Mhm.
What do you use to get active in the workplace or when you're doing your projects? Coffee, tea, energy drinks, wine, beer, nothing?
I like to drink tea, black tea. I don't in my normal operation. I don't drink coffee. Only if I'm dying of sleeping. If I sleeping, stand up sleeping, I drink coffee. And usually I don't drink beer. Only when my wife push that to me. And I like wine also and caipirinha. Do you know caipirinha?
Yeah, of course. I love it. It's not that normal in Mexico, but in the beach, for instance, in Cancun or so, there's a lot of caipirinhas.
So this is it, my friend. If would choose, in fact, I don't use any kind of drink to get power. Okay, and when I'm very tired, I prefer to have 30 minutes sleep, and so I use my cell phone to ring so after
Okay.
30 minutes, and because I understand that I need to rest my body to not get sick. So that's the way I proceed.
A siesta, that will be your power nap. Jefferson, do you have hobbies and what are they?
Yes, I have some. I am a gamer, and I shift to PlayStation. But in the earlier ages, I start with Nintendo 80 bits, and after that, I get a Mega Drive, and that is from Sega. And I had also a Saturn that was a 32 bits console. And but some years later, I get involved with PlayStation, and now I have a PlayStation 2, 3, 4 in my shelf, and I'm waiting for the PS5 to have some fun playing video game. But I also like very is anime. So I like Japanese cartoon and Naruto. Some people have seen me wearing Naruto T-shirt and also Bleach T-shirt. And the Knights of the Zodiac was
That's a classic.
yes,
I love Knights of the Zodiac.
yes,
What's
and
your zodiac symbol or sign?
Gemini no Saga is the strongest one. Okay, so
Okay. We will need a new episode to talk about that and have a discussion.
okay.
Sorry, I interrupt you. Which other after Zodiac of the Night, Knights of the Zodiac?
So Saint Seiya it appears in Brazil. I think it was 1996. I was around 15 years. So since then, I get loved or I followed in love about animes. And although I like the fighting styles, I also like the Death Note. It's very nice
That's
anime.
a great anime. That's true. Okay,
Uh,
Jefferson. What else? Let me know more.
because I'm too involved with my personal project and sharing my expertise, I have less time to that. But when I need to turn off my head and forget about everything to get relaxed, I turn on my PlayStation 4, or I see these days I have seen Dragon Ball movie, So it's the time that I use to get relaxed.
Okay. It sounds great. So, Jefferson, talking about hobbies, what is one hobby that you want to develop? Maybe that you want to work eventually when you have more free time? Maybe play an instrument or make a new sport?
I try to play instruments, but I don't think that I have the enough the enough will to play an instrument. But I would like, and it's something that is my plans for the last 2 years, and I hope that in the next year I will be able to do that. Is to learn how to dance, and it is a hobby that I can do with my wife. She likes dancing a lot, but as me, didn't she doesn't know how to dance. So we it's a plan to do a hobby together with her and learn how to dance very kinds of music. So that's my plan to hobbies.
Okay, nice. Dancing is always good. I didn't know how to dance when I was young, but I started taking some classes to get better. And right now, I will not say I'm a good dancer, but I am a okay dancer. So Jefferson, thank you for sharing all these. Those were the questions I wanted to ask. So I don't know if you want to make a conclusion on the episode before we close it. Say maybe some tips to our friends or some comments, whatever you want to add.
First, thank you again, Manuel. It was very nice to talk to you. And guys, if you don't know, I was talking to Emmanuel that I'm still in the industrial plant here in Brazil. It's around 11 p.m. of the night, and I'm still here because it's very nice to share with you my expertise, my experience in plant design, and I am really happy to be able to do that. So when you find what really matters to you, what is your pleasure, and that for sure is one of my pleasure. Nothing a strong word, but I will keep that. Nothing are able to stop you if you really know what are your goal. So that's why I'm here with Emmanuel. I have any kind of excuses to postpone this conversation, but Emmanuel is a very good friend, and the subject is very good for me to. I really enjoy about this subject. So what I would say is, if you want to know more about chemical process engineering, plant design, I invite you to go to my website, jeffersoncosta.com. There you will find my links to my YouTube channel, to my Telegram channel, and to my training program to see what is there. But you don't need to get registered to my training program to know more about plant design because I have a lot of free content. And if you wish to get further, and if you wanna have my personal assistance, you can consider about that. But you don't need at the first sight. And I have prepared a special playlist in my YouTube channel. It's a plant design course. So you just need to subscribe to my newsletter and you'll be able to have more than 7 hours of chemical process engineering and plant design and how to get familiar with deliverables, activities, and roles of the chemical process engineer. So this is it, my friend. Thanks a lot, Emmanuel. Now is to you.
Okay, now thanks to you, Jefferson. I know that your schedule is always very hard to fit in. I know that you have a lot of work, especially with the consulting, and I know that you are right now doing some commissioning in plant. So thank you for staying there. I know that maybe it will be better for us just to be resting, but we need to hustle, make more content for our fellow chemical engineers. And really, thank you once again. It was really a pleasure to have you here and learn more on your actual background because we never talk about our backgrounds. We only talk about what we are doing, which is chemical engineering content online. So I think it's important that we get to show our background. How do you got that expertise and all that? So I'm pretty sure all the audience that listen to the episode will feel more confident on reaching to you, Jefferson, because you definitely have a lot of work and experience under your belt. So, guys, I will be posting all of the Jefferson's links, all the content. He has a great webpage. He has a small blog as well. I will be linking also to his LinkedIn profile, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all that in the blog post. So, guys, we will see each other in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the episode. And before you go, I will really appreciate it if you take the time to share this podcast with your fellow colleagues, classmates, friends, or really anyone that might be interested on the topic of chemical engineering and its related fields. If you found this content helpful and valuable, please consider subscribing, rating, and leaving a review. Thank you so much for your support. It really means a lot.